So today I want to talk about what I think is the best lens on earth. I'm talking about if I could, I'd get married to it and not make love to it. But I don't think it's legal. So today we're just going to focus on the 35mm. This is a sexy little thing. The 35mm is like the best lens I've ever owned. I kind of found it when I was early on in my career and I just stuck to it. And I've shot about 90% of the content you've seen on my YouTube or my Instagram or since pretty much I started my career. It's great for weddings, product photography, street style, landscape, fashion editorials. And today I want to focus more on the editorial part of it because that's what I shot the video about. However, I want to tell you why, in my opinion, this lens is just great for almost everything. And if I could only have one lens for the rest of my life, I'd probably stick to the 35. So let's talk about it. What is up, guys? Welcome back to Once Upon a Time. I wanted to just give you a little update on my life and a little bit about what's going on and what you should expect for the next couple videos. I am trying something new. If you're one of the original people that have been watching my videos since I started, or you've watched all the videos, you would notice that I shoot a lot of studio now. The reason for that is because New York is extremely cold right now, and quite honestly, it's just not incredible setting to have a good shoot in or to have a good vibe. So I'm just waiting for the weather to change. I did get a couple comments mentioning that they missed those videos, and so I thought that a good way to change it up, and obviously it's not gonna happen in this video because I already shot it and you're watching it and it's not happening, but do it more of like a vlog style kind of thing. I think that maybe if I introduce a little bit more about when I'm getting to the shoot and like a little bit more of the behind the scenes instead of just focusing straight on the photography, I think that it would be a much better video. So anyways, thank you guys so much for subscribing, liking, commenting. It really means the world to me, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Enough yapping, let's get into the video. All right, so here's our first look that we're doing. The first thing that needs to be mentioned is the fact that it feels natural. A 35mm lens is not super wide like a 12mm where you almost get like this fisheye effect, and it's not too narrow like an 80 or like a 100 where everything is just so compact that you almost feel claustrophobic. It's like the perfect sweet spot where everything just, you get enough of the background and you get enough of the model to tell a story and be able to sort of get these candid moments. A 35mm lens is also very small compared to other lenses, at least from what I've noticed, and it really helps to get candid moments from the model because you're not always so focused on this big thing you're holding. It doesn't look as scary, and it's just easier to just kind of click away without feeling like this burden of, oh my god, like this is like a big boy lens, you know, like a 300 or something like that. So it's very comfortable to use. It's also just very natural. So good idea, Anthony. So we have this kind of setup going here. The second point I'd like to make is the portrait power, as I like to call it. A lot of people like to say that the 85mm lens is kind of like the go-to for portraits and all this, but I just don't agree. I've used 85, I've used 50, and while they're great lenses and they definitely have their uses, and I'm not saying 35 is like the one that's gonna end them all, I just think that they're too claustrophobic almost. Like you kind of feel like you're stuck in like the frame, you know, and it's just not the greatest feeling as a viewer. And that's just my opinion, of course. But with the 35, I can still capture that connection of the camera and the model, as well as adding a little bit of environment to the images, which is my personal choice. I love to have a little bit of what's going on in the image, and that's kind of my style of shooting. I like to kind of tell stories in my photos, and I think one of the best ways to do it is with a 35, because you're not only getting the portrait of the model, you're also getting her surroundings. So you're getting the wall behind her, maybe there's a person behind them. It's just a lot of things you can play around with, and you can't do that with the 85. Unless you're really far. So over the years, I've used the 35 a lot. You know, like I said before, I've used it on 90% of my shoots, and it's everything from professional shoots to even product photography and things like that. I actually shot a Watts editorial that I'm gonna be posting very soon, and it was all shot on the 35mm, extremely close. I'm talking about details of the watch, and I was able to get all the shots I really wanted without having to go over the board and start changing lenses every 10 minutes, you know? Cropping is also one of my favorite tools to use whenever I'm shooting on 35. And one of the main reasons why I think 35 is so versatile. If I do want to get that effect of like an 85mm where I'm really close to the model and like everything is super compacted, I can just crop in. And that's the great thing about technology nowadays. All of the cameras, like starting beginner cameras, have like 40 megapixels, which is more than enough, especially if you're posting on Instagram. And it's just really great. Cropping is a great tool that you should learn if you're a new photographer. And if you're a seasoned photographer, I'm sure you know about cropping. Everybody knows about cropping, but cropping can be done right and it can be wrong. But with the 35, you can do a whole variety of things just by cropping. You can take a landscape photo into a portrait photo. You can take a full body photo into a cropped image from the belly up. There's a lot of things you can do with it, and it's one of the main reasons why 35 is like my go-to. I just love it. It makes everything so easy for me. Another reason why the 35mm is such a bomb lens is just because, look at me using freaking lingo. Another reason why the 35mm lens is so great is because it's just like a travel king, you know? Whenever I'm out and about and let's say I'm out on a date with my wife or I'm out with my friends and I just want to bring a camera along and I don't want to think about it, I'm not really trying to be too out of the moment, the 35 is the perfect lens to use for it, because I can literally just slap that thing on my camera and I can still be immersed in the conversations or the situation, the environment, without my camera taking too much of my life, you know? Because when I'm carrying like a lens bag or my backpack with all my lenses, it just feels like I am extremely like overloaded with all of this equipment. I can't really have fun. I feel like somebody's gonna steal it. There's a lot of things that I think about, but with the 35, I literally just grab it, and when I'm taking photos, I'm just, you know, I just snap them and I don't have to worry too much about it. Now, obviously this depends on what kind of camera you have. If you have a gigantic camera with a 35, I'm sure it's more of a hassle, but I don't have a huge camera, so who cares? And those are just some of the reasons why I keep coming back to the 35mm. I have flexibility, I have creative direction, and I mean, look, I live in New York, so a lot of the studios I rent don't have enough room for me to step back 50 feet to get a full body shot with a 50mm or an 80mm. So it's just nice to be able to move and be versatile and get able to get all the shots I want without having to break my back or work too hard for them. I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard, but I'm just saying that it makes life a lot easier. I do have other lenses. I am not just saying that this lens is like an end-all be-all for lenses, but I definitely do think that it's a lens that you should have in your bag, and you should maybe take it out whenever you're shooting just for fun. I think that you learn a lot from yourself. You learn a lot about composition. You learn a lot about editing as well, because you have to work with people and things around you that maybe you don't want in the photo. So it's just a really good lens to just learn more about your style and your photography. And honestly, maybe I'll try something else someday, but for now, 35 is like my baby, and it's gonna stay in my bag, and I'm gonna keep shooting with it. So I'm gonna bring it back to Juan in the studio, and he's gonna say goodbye to you. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't listen to the other guy. He's a fucking psycho. Thank you guys for watching so much. I'm sorry I'm down here. I'm the shortest. This is just how it is. And next time I see you, I'm going to go back in time, meet Einstein, and then steal the Oppenheimer thing from him. Okay, see you next week.